What is up, Flick fans, and welcome back to my channel. In honor of Avengers Endgame coming out on digital this last Tuesday, today I'm talking about all of the heroes in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, except we're not talking about what we normally talk about, and that is which one is our favorite. Which one do we like the least in terms of performance and acting and character and all of those things? Today, we are talking strictly power. How powerful are these characters compared to the other Avengers? Now, this is a pre-made template, one that actually left off Vision, so I'm going to be incorporating him at the end, and another character that you're definitely going to want to stick around for. But right now, I went back to the normal layout. I have been doing the awesome, the bad, the okay, but since this is power levels, we're going to the typical tier list layout, S being the best, the OGs, the most powerful characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and the F tier being the least powerful. Now, they're still Avengers, so they're still in their own way skillful and powerful, if you will. But compared to these other guys, compared to these gods, it's really hard to come close. Okay, I want to get into this list, and before we start, I need all of your comments down below. Who do you think the most powerful character in the MCU is, and do you agree or disagree with this list? It is not really based on any factual information because this is all, not real, but after doing some research, pitting these characters against each other in my head and spending a few hours just kind of looking into how powerful these characters with these particular things actually are, I think I've got this list down pat. It may not be accurate, but this is all just my opinion. Okay, we start out with the very first character on this list, and that is Wong, and Wong is actually going to be a bit higher up than you guys may think because we have not seen a lot of Wong, but he has the exact same skill set, albeit on a lower level than Doctor Strange, but he is a sorcerer. No, he's not the Sorcerer Supreme, but he is extremely powerful, and that's why I'm starting out putting Wong on the B tier. Why the B tier and why not higher? Well, the one time we saw him run into battle in the movie Doctor Strange, sure, he's probably become more powerful since then. He got killed fairly quickly. Granted, he was going up against powerful beings, but I haven't seen him hold his own in battle. He did a good job in Infinity War, and I'm sure he was throwing people all over the place in Endgame. I just haven't seen it from him. And without seeing the evidence, we're going based off of not the comic books, right? We're going based off of what we have seen so far and what we can assume from these characters, from their power levels in these movies. And I think Wong is very powerful, just not quite powerful enough to be on the A or the S tier. Next up is War Machine, another character that you may think, War Machine, he's not been used that much in the movies, he's on the E or the F. I'm actually going to go ahead and throw War Machine on the C tier because over the last couple of films, I have seen him really hold his own in battle. Sure, the thing happened in Civil War and he kind of fell flat straight out of the sky, but he couldn't help something like that. Listen, War Machine, the armor is the exact same armor that Tony Stark had a few movies prior, just upgraded in so many different facets, and I am sure, and I know in Avengers Endgame, his armor was decked out and crazy, and he was probably destroying so many things in that battle, and we even saw it in Avengers Endgame. He's just shooting things and launching missiles, and his suit is full of so many different elements that become extremely useful in battle, and I have no choice but to put him this high up on this list, especially when I'm looking at Tony Stark. Now, sure, his suit is way more advanced. He has the nanotech, he has this, he has that. But War Machine is exactly what his name entails. He is a war machine. And I don't think we've really explored what Don Cheadle can do as this character as of yet. And I do think he could absolutely hold his own in battle. Next up, now we have two versions of the Hulk on this template. We have the smart version of the Hulk, aka Professor Hulk from Avengers Endgame, and then we have the enraged version, the one that when he gets unleashed, he is extremely beyond chaotic, and that's what we really love about the Hulk, right? I'm going to go ahead and place both of these characters. The first, Professor Hulk, and I'll explain this here in just a second, on the B tier, and the Hulk, prior to Professor Hulk, on the A tier. Now, here's why I'm doing that. First off, I think this would have been a lot easier if there were not two different versions of the Hulk on this, but I'm going to roll with the punches, right? Professor Hulk, to me, did not showcase the fact that he is as powerful as the original Hulk. Yes, snapped his fingers, and that really was one of the most integral things that any character could have done in that movie. It was awesome. But when it came to the battle, and I was just texting my friend Devin about this the other day, we were talking back and forth. Professor Hulk didn't really do much in battle. We saw him throw one character, and I'm sure he could have held his own, but you also have to keep in mind that one of his arms is currently burnt to a crisp. Now, a one-armed Hulk is a lot more powerful than the majority of these characters, but he's still, at this point, it's probably going to heal, but at this point, a one-armed Hulk because of that snap. I have no choice but to put him on a lower tier than the version that we saw prior, which is the Hulk who is completely unleashed. I believe that is actually an image from Thor Ragnarok, and going by what we saw in Thor Ragnarok, he was very powerful. When he became the Hulk, he absolutely became the Hulk, and it was awesome to see. I want to see more of that. I want to see that version come back in the future, maybe if his arm heals. Professor Hulk is extremely smart, and that is in itself a superpower. But when the Hulk is unleashed to his full potential, that is really when he is the most powerful, and that's why that version of the Hulk is on the A tier. But still, being on the A and B tier, it's nothing to sneeze at. You are extremely powerful, and I'd love to have you on my team, but I'm not Nick Fury. Next up, we have two versions of Captain America. The first version we have is the normal version of Cap, who we know from pretty much every movie except for Endgame. And I'm going to go ahead and place that version of Cap on the C tier. Some may say that's a bit too high, but I look at him as a leader of this team, and only really he could do what he has done, taking his skills from the military and leading the charge in terms of where the Avengers go from here. That is a quality that I don't look past. I've seen a few more tier lists that have Cap lowered down just because, sure, he's extremely strong. He knows how to fight, but he can't fly. He's not a Sorcerer Supreme. He can't do this. He can't do that. And I get it. I understand that critique, but when looking at all of those skill sets combined, for me, Captain America is at least on the C tier. If not, I can't quite put him on the B just because super strength, the ability to fight, agility, all of those things, that doesn't quite get you there, but the C tier is very respectable. Now, when Cap gets bestowed the hammer Mjolnir of Thor, that's when he becomes what I have always wanted Cap to be. When Captain America has Thor's hammer, he basically gets the powers of Thor, albeit he doesn't get all of them. I'm sure he doesn't necessarily know how to fly, although if he taught himself, he could. But this is Captain America with Thor's hammer. All of his qualities, everything we've seen from him so far, with the power of Thor. I don't have a choice but to put Captain America with Thor's hammer on the S tier. Because this is, one, everything fans have been wanting to see for my entire life. I know probably your entire life. But two, the guy just started whooping up on Thanos. Now, yes, it became more of a battle, and it was hard to take him down. But my goodness, guys, Captain America took him on. And he had every power that we wanted to see. He had the lightning. He had the strength. He knew how to use it because he was worthy. And a worthy Cap, in my opinion, is a Captain America that deserves to be on the S tier. Next up, we have Valkyrie. Now, I think Valkyrie is going to get underserved in a few tier lists, ones that I have seen absolutely, but you look at her and you're like, okay, it's a side player from Thor. Sure, she's powerful, but she's not that powerful. Listen, she held her own against Loki. She really held her own against Thor. And in battle, in Endgame, she's just riding on the Pegasus, just going straight towards it. And every move she made that I saw was extremely powerful. She was a part of the Valkyries, some of the most fierce warriors known in the galaxy. Guys, I have to put her high up on this list. Now, I can't quite get her on the A or the S tier just because we haven't seen it from her yet. I'm sure she can get there eventually, but the Queen of Asgard deserves nothing less than the B tier, and I wouldn't blame you if you put her on the A tier. She's powerful. We haven't seen all of it yet. I want to see more from her, but Valkyrie, I think she's up there, absolutely. Next up, we have Black Widow. I really love Black Widow as a character. Ever since Winter Soldier, she has continued to improve. Her story arc has gotten better. I love her relationships, and I loved her in Endgame. Honestly, in Endgame, she was one of my favorite characters. This is all about power. This is how powerful the character is. And I'm sorry, but when you're in the midst of battle and you're just firing a gun, yes, she can fight, and we saw it in Civil War, we saw it in Winter Soldier, but compared to, and this is all comparing to everything else, she is on the F tier. Not as a character, just based around how strong she actually is. Next up, now, Ant-Man. We're talking about the Ant-Man that we have seen in everything so far, combined, right? Endgame, Infinity War, Ant-Man. If it was just based off the first Ant-Man, I'd be like, yeah, you know, he can do it, but he can't do much. All he does is shrink, right? But I went back and watched Endgame when it came out the other day, and I saw what Ant-Man was doing in that final battle. First of all, the fact that he can grow to be gigantic is awesome, turning into Giant Man. So you have to look at that power level, but then you look at what he was doing in that battle, taking the Chitauri's ship and throwing it back through the portal. Did you guys see that scene? It was in the background, it wasn't focused on, but what he was doing was incredible. Stepping on the villains. Ant-Man is powerful. I'm going to sit here and say it right now. He's one of the more powerful characters when he turns into Giant Man. And even when he doesn't, he's perfect to infiltrate places. You can utilize him in so many different ways, but this is basically going off Giant Man. I am putting Ant-Man on the B tier. That's right. I'm putting him up there with Wong and Valkyrie because when he turns into this all-powerful being, this giant, ridiculously gigantic human being, he really does damage, and you saw that in the final battle of Endgame. Yeah, man, Ant-Man, he's awesome. He is barely on that B tier. I would almost put him on the C tier, but just seeing him in that final battle, I have to put him up there. Some may disagree with me because it's like, Austin, it's just a giant human, but go back and watch the final battle in Endgame. It's pretty remarkable what he's doing. Next up, we're talking his partner, the Wasp. Now, this is kind of me more Ant-Man in the first Ant-Man before he turned into Giant Man. Yes, you can utilize her in the same exact ways as you can Ant-Man when he's small, but Wasp doesn't have what Ant-Man has when he goes big. She's great. She's, compared to humans, she can probably beat everybody upright. If she had a spy movie based all around her, she would win the fight every single time. I don't know if she would beat Black Widow in combat, but she at least has powers, and that's why I'm putting her one tier above Black Widow on the E tier. Nothing against the Wasp. She is great. But look at the characters we have above her, the damage that they've done so far. She was great in Ant-Man and the Wasp, and she did some things in Endgame, just nothing to really stand up to the talent above her. Next up, we have Black Panther, and Black Panther, the king of Wakanda. Now, you look at that character and you're like, oh, if I choose him to put him really high, you can get all of his assets from Wakanda. Well, that's how I would look at it normally. But right now, we're just looking at skill set and power and what Black Panther can actually do. So putting him on the C tier is going to be something that may come across as controversial because Black Panther is really a powerful character, and we saw that in his movie in terms of combat, who he was fighting, how he was winning almost every single time. But then you look at who's above him, whether it's Professor Hulk or Valkyrie. These are gods. These are sorcerers. These are ridiculously powerful creatures, or just a man that can grow to be however many feet tall. Black Panther is strong. He has incredible agility, and his abilities are really through the roof in terms of what a human can do in the same vein of a Captain America, and that's why I put him on that tier. He doesn't have the military experience of a Captain America, but he is enhanced to the point to where I think he deserves to be on the C tier. I may slightly put him above War Machine. Actually, you know what? Just because it's on my brain right now, I'm going to take War Machine. I'm going to put him at the end because he's kind of lower C tier, whereas Black Panther and Captain America are higher C tier, but it's all based on power. Next up, Winter Soldier. It's the same case. So here's how I pictured this. Here's how I came across choosing where I chose to put these three characters in terms of Cap, Black Panther, and Winter Soldier. I look at the fight from Civil War when they're all three battling each other, they're chasing each other. To me, it looked as if they were all on almost the same power level. And then the airport sequence when Cap is fighting Black Panther, when Winter Soldier is fighting Black Panther. Sure, Black Panther gets the upper hand on them every now and then, but it's still an extremely close battle, and where they have come, especially with Winter Soldier's enhanced hand and how Cap continues to get better in battle, I'm going to put them on the same tier. If I had to choose who was going to win a fight at this point, I may say Black Panther, so I'm just going to put him first on the C tier just to make myself feel a little bit better, but I still think they all belong on the same range of power levels. Next up is Doctor Strange, the Sorcerer Supreme. You guys know where he's going on this list. He is ridiculously powerful. Now, as a character, I don't think I like him as much as Captain America, clearly, or a few other characters that I'm going to put on that specific tier, but he is powerful. There is no doubting that his fight with Thanos in Infinity War, what he does in Endgame, sure, he doesn't take a lot of villains down, but taking that water and kind of whooshing it in the other direction and then opening all of the portals may not have just been him, but he had a big hand in that. Listen, everybody knows that he is the Sorcerer Supreme. There's no doubt in my mind that he's on the S tier, and he's only going to get stronger. Into the Multiverse is going to be an incredible movie that I think showcases his full potential, and that's why Doctor Strange is on the S tier. Pretty obvious for me. Next up is Drax. Can't see him. Where you at, Drax? He's completely invisible. Just kidding. Drax is going on the D tier for me. Now, Austin, why is Drax going on the D tier? He's one of the more powerful. Well, yes, from the comics, he absolutely is. My big issue with Drax's character, and I love him as a character, but my one nitpick is the fact that he has been way more humor, like 90% humor, than Drax the Destroyer. From what we know of him in the comic books, we haven't seen him destroy. He got his butt whooped by Ronan in Guardians the first time he faced him. Yes, he was stabbing a guy in Avengers Endgame. We just haven't seen it yet. I'm really hoping we get that from him soon because I want to know that he is more powerful than the D tier. He's still powerful. In Guardians 1, there were a couple of scenes, especially in the prison, that proved he was powerful, but comparing him to the heroes above him and really to everybody else on this list, it's difficult to project when he's just been a source of humor, and that's the way I feel about it. Still on the D tier, that's absolutely respectable, but I want to see him do more. And next we have a character that, in my opinion, would win the Most Improved award. Listen, when we saw him in Civil War, he was great. He held his own against the Avengers, and that's awesome, but he really has grown from what I believe to be maybe the D tier to the C tier and almost the B tier. I'm not putting him on the B tier quite yet. I don't think he's ready. I think he almost got there in Far From Home, especially that in battle, which I thought was great when he really started to discover that, hey, I have Spidey sense. Not the Peter Tingle. It's now the Spidey sense. He's coming into his own, but I don't think he's there yet. He's still young. He has a lot to learn. He has held his own against the Avengers in every single movie, but he's also getting thrown to the ground. He hasn't shown the confidence to me to where he can showcase his true powers. Once again, I think that's coming. Spider-Man is going to get there. As of right now, from what I've seen so far, he is on the C tier. Still really good. I mean, the kid's super young compared to everyone else on this tier. Next up, we have Gomorrah. And Gomorrah is really a difficult one to project for me because I want to put her on the C tier because I know she can handle herself in battle. I know it. I've seen it. But seeing it on the level that I've seen it from these other characters, Gomorrah's storyline has been less about the action and more about the interactions between her and other characters, so I haven't necessarily seen her be as powerful as I think she could be. And now we have a completely different version of Gomorrah, the 2014 version of Gomorrah, who is that assassin that Thanos sent that almost killed him, this and that. So while I want to put her on the C tier, it's very difficult for me to do. I want to put her on the C tier. I really do. I can't quite get it there yet. I'm going to do exactly what I had in my head to do, and that's put her on the D tier. But she is a great fighter. I just haven't seen it showcased in the way, for me, now you guys can disagree with me if you like, to put her up there with a Black Panther or a Captain America or a Spider-Man. I just haven't seen it out of her. I know she has it in there. I just want to see it showcased, and then I can put her on the C tier. And I'm actually going to skip forward just a few spaces, and I'm going to take Nebula, since we have seen a lot of Gomorrah versus Nebula, and it seems to me every single time they fight each other, it seems to be evenly matched, or as evenly matched as it can be. Now, you look at the fact that Nebula almost snuck by the guards and took out Thanos before Infinity War because he says that when he's talking to them, but I still have to put them on the D tier just because it's something I need showcased to me. They're both powerful, but in the same vein as Drax, I just want to see more. Next up, we have Hawkeye, and Hawkeye, of course, is on the S tier. I'm just kidding. Listen, nothing against Hawkeye. I love the character of Hawkeye. He's been fleshed out more and more and more, and now he's got a TV show. He can hit every shot, whether it's golf or with an arrow or probably with a gun. He's extremely and ridiculously accurate. It's an incredible human skill. But look at the characters above him. You have Wasp, who is a human, but she can shrink down. You have Guardians of the Galaxy. You have Spider-Man. You have Valkyrie. The competition is very steep. And because of that, I have to put him on the F tier. It doesn't mean he's an F character. Once again, I'm going to keep reiterating that. But power levels, yeah, that's where he needs to be. Next up is Iron Man. Now, this is extremely difficult because you have to judge him based off of how powerful have we seen him before. And if it was still the Iron Man from, heck, Civil War, I would say, yeah, he's probably right there with Captain America. Sure, he maybe had a bit more power at that point, but he's still on that wide range of a C tier. But then he got the nanotech. We saw the beginning stages in Civil War, and then we saw the full suit in Infinity War, and then we saw him fight Thanos at the end of that movie. And he really did, man. He held his own against Thanos. He has held his own against so many different foes, and he was awesome in Infinity War and Endgame in terms of how powerful that suit was. The nanotech gets me to that B tier. Well, he's just a human being in a suit. That's not what we're judging. We're judging Iron Man as an entity with the suit on. His most recent suit is what I'm going off of. That's the nanotech, and Iron Man really did become a powerful character before he... Next up is Korg. Hey, man. What's up? Okay, so Korg is going to be pretty high up on my list when I do a favorite characters tier list, right? Because I love Korg. I think he's hilarious. I think he's one of the best things to happen to the MCU. Here's what I have seen from him in battle. I've seen him shoot a gun. I've seen him run up to something and bat him upside the head. And I know Korg is powerful. I know he's powerful. I just don't know how powerful. Now, you can do all the research you want within the comic books, but at the end of the day, I have to go off of what I've seen, and what I've seen is a character that can hold his own, a character that is chipping off some rocks here and there, and one that leads a revolution, but all I've seen him do for the most part is shoot a gun. I'm sure he can get there. I don't know how good of a fighter he is, and because of all of these things that I've been saying, I'm putting Korg on the F tier, and you know what? Not even on the E tier. I'm going to put Korg on the D tier. That's a pretty good tier to be on, especially since we haven't actually seen him fight, but he's a giant rock creature. I'm sure he's pretty powerful. I would love to see a fight between him and Drax, by the way. My God, how entertaining would that be? Both of them could move up this list if we got to see that. Next up is Mantis. Yeah, you guys know where Mantis is going. She's going on the F tier, not because of, oh, she just can do one thing. She can put things to sleep, and she can wake things up, and she can make them feel emotions. That power has been utilized pretty impressively, especially in Infinity War when she gets on top of Thanos and she's trying to put him to sleep. I'm like, yeah, that's a really good use for the character of Mantis. And she did put Ego to sleep for a limited period of time in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, but is that really a power that you can compare to these? I want to see how much she can fight. I want to see how good she is in battle. I was curious to see what she was actually doing in that battle. Listen, Mantis is not a bad character by any means, but just basing off of what I know from her, she's going on the F tier. Next up is Falcon. Now, here's what I'm going to say about Falcon. I'm going to go ahead and put him on the E tier because he's a human being with wings. Now, those wings can do a lot of things. Kind of rhymes. In the same vein of what a war machine can do with his suit, in the same vein of what Tony Stark does with his suit, but those wings, they're not the Iron Man or the War Machine suits. Those wings, they can shoot out missiles, they have a lot of firepower, they can act as a shield. It's really cool, but his entire body, for the most part, is still exposed. He can fly, that's awesome, but he's still just a human being where the majority of him is out there to be shot and or killed. Now, what we've seen of him so far, I think, is on the E tier. He is our new Captain America. I'm curious to see what he does from here on out. He's not powerful at this point. He's good. He's skillful. He can do a lot of different things, and he's been very useful in battle. But now he has the mantle of Captain America. I want to see what he does with that shield. I want to see how they improve him. I want to see Sam Wilson's version of that character. At that point, he could absolutely move up this list. But as of right now, he's on the E tier, even though I love Anthony Mackie. Next up, now here's the one that's going to cause a lot of ruckus, possibly, in the comments section. I know a lot of people do not love Captain Marvel as a character, but there is no doubt in my mind that she is ridiculously powerful. When Thanos tries to headbutt her in Endgame, heck, when she flies through the ship, it's incredible. But then Thanos outsmarts her and attacks her and really knocks the crap out of her, okay? As he did multiple characters, don't get me wrong. But everyone was trying to tell me before Captain Marvel that Captain Marvel is going to be the most powerful character in the MCU. She did some powerful things in Endgame, do not get me wrong. But I still haven't seen what makes her more powerful than a Doctor Strange, what makes her more powerful than a Thor. Because in the heat of battle, in the heat of the moment, I want to see that. I personally haven't seen that. I know a lot of people are going to chime in and say, well, Austin, you're not putting her on the S tier. It's ridiculous. I'm still putting her on the A tier. I mean, my God, she's Captain Marvel and she's done a lot of damage. And my other reason for not putting her on the S tier is because I don't think she has control of her powers just yet. I mean, at this point in Endgame, yeah. But we haven't seen that progression, right? From Captain Marvel to Endgame, she wasn't in Endgame long enough for me to understand that she has the grasp on her powers. Whatever the Captain Marvel sequel does, because I have a feeling it's going to take place in that time span before all of the events of the Avengers, I want to see her come into her own. I want to see her hone in on her powers, and I want to see her own them. I want to see her become the Captain Marvel that we see in Endgame, who still doesn't convince me that she's more powerful than the characters on the S tier. I guarantee she is. She probably is, but I want to see it visually on screen, and then I can place her on the S tier. But she is still one of the most powerful characters in the MCU, no doubt in my mind. Then we come to Groot, and let me go ahead and put Groot on the C tier. Would I put Baby Groot or Teenage Groot on the C tier? No. But as you see from the template, here's what we're going to call this. We're going to call this an amalgamation of the character of Groot, all three versions, and that first version of Groot, well, technically two versions because Baby Groot grows into Teenage Groot, but they are two different versions of the character. That first Groot is really powerful, man. When he takes his arm and just pushes it through all of those people, and he does it in Infinity War too, just a smaller version of it, he can do a lot of damage. And the fact that that ship crashed in the first movie and he protected all of the Guardians with his body, guys, Groot is a very powerful character. Is he as powerful as Iron Man with the nanosuit or a Valkyrie or a Professor Hulk? I'm not for sure, just because we haven't had that kind of proof, but we've had the proof that I believe he deserves to be up there with a War Machine, a Winter Soldier, and at this point, a Spider-Man. Next up is Okoye. Now, Okoye is an extremely powerful character as well. She is the leader of the Dora Milaje, but she's also still just a human. Granted, a very skilled human. A human that could beat me up very easily. So I'm going to put her not on the F tier because I do think she is a step above a Black Widow, a Hawkeye, a Mantis, but I still think she's on the level of a Wasp and a Sam Wilson because they both have this power pack, is what I'm going to call it. Wasp can turn small, Falcon can fly. She is once again just a human, but she's a human that is extremely and ridiculously skilled, has been growing up with that skill all of her life. In the same vein of a Black Widow, I just find her a lot more fierce and really just a bit more powerful. Then we come to Rocket Raccoon. Now, Rocket Raccoon is very interesting for me because you could easily put him on the E tier just because he's small, he's a raccoon, he's not extremely powerful, but what he's done, I mean, his skill with the weapons is insane. The fact that he can crawl around and just beat the crap out of people is awesome. And his intellect. Rocket Raccoon is smart. I don't want to put anything past the fact that he is one of the smartest characters that I've seen in the MCU. No, he's not as smart as a Shuri or Tony Stark or this or that, but he is extremely smart. And combining all of those things, for me, puts him on the D tier, just barely. Once again, I was still debating on whether or not I should put him on the E tier, but I do think he has all of these other skills that come into play that you may not think about that we have seen in the movies thus far. And we move on to the character of Scarlet Witch. Now, putting Scarlet Witch above Captain Marvel is going to raise a few eyebrows, but I have seen the progression and the development of Scarlet Witch. I haven't seen that from Captain Marvel just yet. Once I see that, I will absolutely put Captain Marvel up there. But I'm putting Scarlet Witch on the S tier. And here's the main reason why I'm doing that. It's because of what I saw in Avengers Endgame. When she walks up to Thanos and she gets ready to take him down. She was going to take him down. Kevin Feige just came out and said, if Thanos wouldn't have fired that ship, she would have defeated Thanos at that point. I mean, I find that incredible. Scarlet Witch is ridiculously powerful, and keep in mind that she's going to be in the sequel to Doctor Strange, and I have a feeling that she could become A, easily one of the most powerful characters in the MCU, and everybody's going to see that, or B, a villain because of the House of M storyline and the fact that she could possibly go off of the deep end, and then we will see her true power. I don't know. It's all speculation. It's all theories in my head, all of those things running around, but I would love to see that. Next up is Loki. Listen, Loki is a god. He's a god. He's powerful. To me, he's easily on one of the top 3 tiers. He took on the entire team of the Avengers, a Thor, an Iron Man, a Captain America. Granted, farther back, so they were younger and they weren't as skilled as they are now, but he still took them on. And every time he's fought Thor, he has lost a few times, but he's held his own. And Thor is an extremely powerful character. He's the master of illusion, and I think Loki is just, and he's continued to become a better fighter, and that's what I've seen showcased in the last few movies. And here's the reason why he's on this list and if Thanos isn't, is because the Loki that we knew his character arc, not the Loki that we have for the TV show, he ended up being a hero. So I understand why he's included on this template. Loki really did die a hero, and that's why I'm placing him on the B tier. Next up is Shuri. Listen, Shuri's brains could put her on the E or the D or the C. I'm going to put Shuri on the F tier. She is ridiculously smart, but in battle, really, all she can do is shoot. I don't think she is a skilled warrior like Okoye. She doesn't have the powers of her brother. Once again, if this was who is the smartest character in the MCU, she would be at the top. She would be probably above a Tony Stark, and that should get her up there in terms of ability, but I haven't seen really anything from her skill set. I don't know if she's a fighter. I don't know if she can hold her own. I saw a little bit in Endgame, but she was just kind of firing the cannons. Once I see more, I will be inclined to maybe put her on the E or the D tier, but we're just going off of power and ability, and for me, I put her on the F tier. Then we have Star-Lord, and Star-Lord kind of reminds me of Falcon in a way. Not the Star-Lord from Guardians Volume 2 when he has his father's abilities and powers. Not that Star-Lord, because according to all of the directors and the producers, when Ego the Living Planet died in that movie, it took away Star-Lord's abilities. That's why we didn't see them in Infinity War or Endgame. That brings Star-Lord to be a really good leader, a leader that possibly makes questionable decisions, as we saw in Avengers Infinity War, but still a guy that can hold his own in battle. He is this outlaw who has been traveling the galaxy for a long time, and he didn't really get caught. I mean, he got caught a few times, but he always managed to find himself getting out of that situation, escaping, whatever you want to say. And that's just me kind of describing why I didn't put him on the F tier. Listen, Star-Lord is not a powerful character. He can hold his own in battle, absolutely. But when comparing him to a Gomorrah or a Nebula or a Drax, clearly he's the leader for a reason, because he's not as skilled as those other warriors. And that's why I'm putting Star-Lord on the E tier. And the final character that we see on this list is Thor, and you see that, the thumbnail for Thor? Yeah, okay, we're putting him on the S tier. Because Thor's presence, first of all, in Avengers Infinity War was ridiculous. Now, yes, he started to go off the deep end in Avengers Endgame because he made a bad decision by not going for the head, and then, he got depressed, he gained a little bit of weight, so I don't think that version of Thor was as powerful as the version that we see on this template, but I do think he's going to start coming into his own once again, and we're going to get back to the Thor that we know, and really the Thor that we love. Don't get me wrong, I found him hilarious in Avengers Endgame, and he was still pretty powerful at the end. But if we would have had the Thor from Infinity War facing Thanos at the end of Avengers Endgame, I'm sorry, but I don't think it would have been any competition. I think he would have taken him out in 5 to 10 minutes, because I think that's how powerful Thor is. He has Odin's strength. Now, his power comes from him, not from his hammer, and Stormbreaker is a ridiculously incredible addition to his character. Still love Mjolnir, but Stormbreaker, man, Thor is, he's just insane in terms of ability, and I'm excited to see what path they take him on next. So those are all the characters on the template now. I'm going to include Vision on this list. And this is probably the most difficult thing that I have done because I'm debating in my head, do I put Vision on the B tier or do I put Vision on the A tier? And here's why I'm debating even putting him on the B tier, because we know Vision is a ridiculously powerful character, but we never really got to see it in the movies. I mean, we saw it a bit in Age of Ultron. He was easily taking people down, and then we saw it a tiny bit in Civil War. He kind of disappeared in battle until he wanted to fix things or block a truck from destroying a character or fly through Ant-Man and destroy this tower. I mean, my God. His abilities are ridiculously off the charts, so we know he has the potential. But once again, he is a character that believes in peace. He picked up Mjolnir, so we know he's worthy. He's not one that wants to fight. And I think that's the main reason why we never got to see Vision flesh out his abilities on screen. In that sense, he was underserved. If he went all out and showcased his power, I believe he would be on the S tier, because Vision is that character in the comic books. But I'm not going to put him on the S tier just because he chose peace instead of fighting. That one line in Civil War tells me exactly what his beliefs and his motivations are, and because of those things, you know what, I'm actually not going to put him on the B tier. I'm putting Vision on the A tier, because if it came down to it and he had to fight a Captain Marvel, we've seen what he can do here. We've seen him showcase his super strength. We've seen him phase. We have seen these things. We've just never seen them in battle, so we know he has them, and that's why I'm putting him on the A tier, because once again, if it comes down to it and he's fighting Captain Marvel or Hulk, I absolutely think he would hold his own. But we're not done yet, because I have another tier. That's right. This is the double S tier. This is frankly the most important thing that I'm doing today, because I'm pulling something out of my hat that I don't think anyone was expecting. A character that did the worst possible thing that you could ever imagine, but in our hearts, he is a hero, and he broke Thor. He caused him to become furious and full of rage, and that character is Noobmaster 69. That's right, Noobmaster 69 is probably one of the best Fortnite players in the history of anything ever all time. He managed to get in the head of Thor and almost destroy the God of Thunder, almost take him down. Now, why is he a hero, you say? Because if it wasn't for Noobmaster 69, Thor wouldn't have been able to show off his anger in front of Bruce Banner. Thor would not have broken down in front of him. That way, Bruce Banner was able to pick him back up and take him on that adventure. Sure, there was beer on the ship, absolutely, and that got him off of his butt. But Thor got back to being Thor because of Noobmaster 69, and that's why Noobmaster 69 is on the double S tier. What does double S mean? I don't know. But you guys can figure that out. Thank you so much for watching this video. These are all, once again, my opinions. This is just how I feel. I need to know who is your most powerful Avenger in the comments down below. This was such a fun video, once again, doing it in honor of the release of Avengers Endgame on digital platforms. Let me know what you guys think of all of those bonus features and all of the things that came with it, and let me know what you guys think about this list, and pitch the next tier list that you want me to do. I have multiple tier lists on this channel and multiple ranking videos as well as reviews. Once again, you guys are awesome, and I'll see you very soon.